Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gamers Lounge podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me as always is Nathaniel and Dennis, and two guys eating a banana. And if you're watching the live screen, it's just two of them there because I don't have two separate pictures. One for I need to have more pictures. So
Wait,
when
so
what
you
you
have
should
like
have done is you should have like flipped to the other one, like mirrored the other. The other
oh
image
yeah, I
just to
could
make
have
it
done
seem
that. I didn't
different.
think about that. It was just oh yeah, I've got to have something because Eric's not here. Oh, I just have the banana guy. I'll just do another banana guy.
So are we doing a 5-person layout then?
Yeah, still got the 5-person
Okay.
layout because I
I was
thought
like, wait, there's 4 usually, and then subtracting 1 does not equal 2 empty spots. So I was just I
yeah,
hadn't
well, I always
booted up the stream yet.
I always have the 5 just because you never know when Robert might be able to pop back in.
You never know.
So,
True.
You
it's
never
like, and then I thought Eric was going to be here, so I didn't have time to move things to the 4s. Like, forget it.
Yeah. Hey, it works.
I need to just have them on demand and just so that I can just go beep, bop, bop. I only have a stream deck and I don't use it properly. So it's like,
So if we're gonna do that, we need to have like a soundboard with different just McElroy sound clips from it, so that we
Yeah.
can have the voice of them too.
exactly. I could do that. That would be no problem.
We'll just
No
get
problem.
both of them. Like we'll get all of the McElroys from all their different podcasts and shows and stuff. It doesn't matter. We only have one picture. We can use all of them.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Soundboard it up.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what they do in real radio now anyway, right? And it all just soundboard stuff. There's not anybody actually.
I mean, especially if you're doing pranks. You got
Yeah.
the Arnold Schwarzenegger soundboard. You got the Nicolas Cage soundboard. Yeah.
There you go. Nick
Yeah.
Cage would be the one I'd need.
It's one thing I've always wanted to do is have a soundboard, but the trouble is where I don't have a mixer board, I'd have to get like some virtual thing so you guys could hear it and everything like that. It's like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work I don't feel like doing right now.
Might be worth it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
be
could
worth
be, but you see the problem I had. Just we're already 20 minutes late because of just one simple problem I had. So let's just add 2 more things to the mix that could cause problems. So.
It's okay. I'll take the blame for it. See, what the real story is I was just in the bathroom for a very long time. I ate some things today.
Well,
And so
it
it's been-
happens. I understand. It is.
It wasn't technical difficulties. It was other kinds of difficulties.
I was going to say it was technical difficulties, just not electronic technical difficulties. Oh Lord!
It was all internal,
All internal, yeah. But anyway, on that note, we're actually here to talk
Podcast
about.
over.
Yeah, that's
We ruined it.
We're retiring. This is the very last show. Eric had to miss it. But no, we'll talk about like we'll start out like we always do with what we've been playing. Actually, I've actually played some games this week.
What?
Neat.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, we didn't have a show over the 4th of July because I kind of forgot it was 4th of July when the next show would come. So it was like, I ended up having Friday and Monday off. So it was like, you know what? Let's just not do a show. And I have 4 days to do absolutely nothing. So that's pretty much what I did for 4 days was absolutely nothing other than play games and just kind of lay around the house, which was nice for a change. It was to not have to worry about running here and running there and doing this and doing that. But I got a lot of time in on Sea of Thieves by myself and with Dennis. Me and Dennis played, golly, what was that one night we were up till 4 a.m. playing? I think it
Ooh,
was
something
like
like
4 or
that.
5
Yeah.
hours.
It was up pretty late. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like we got this one quest or whatever you want to call them, and it was like, what was it, 4 parts or 5 parts? I don't even remember now.
It might have even been 6. Honestly,
Yeah,
like it was quite a few because we thought. Okay, this sounds like the last one.
Yeah.
Nope, never mind.
Nope,
one
never
more
mind.
chapter.
Yeah,
nope, one more chapter.
Yeah, and it's like, and the way those work is they're all like little puzzles. They're all like little riddles, and then when you figure out where you're going, you go over here, you dig up this treasure, and then it gives you another one. Then you have to go over here and dig up this treasure, and then you have to go over here and dig up this, all to find the main treasure to finish the quest. And it just kept going and going and going. And in that like 4.5, 5 hour period, it was just that one quest was all we did. And we just had the boat. We had it open. So it was me and Dennis all the time, but then people would just come in and out, drop in and out. And
Yeah.
it was pretty hilarious because that was where, and I don't know, did I upload the video to our Twitch chat or our Twitter chat where
You did.
I shot myself out of a cannon to get. We parked so far off the edge, and it was easier to load myself up in a cannon and shoot myself to the shore than it was to swim.
Yeah.
But I miscalculated where I was aiming at, and I hit the rock. Now, the first time I hit the rock, I just hit the rock, fell in the water, and went off swimming fine. The second time I did that, I hit the rock, and it almost was like I died. I got stuck in it. And I thought, oh, well, the screen turned black, and I thought, oh, I died. And then all of a sudden, everything started playing in reverse, and I shot out of the rock and was going under the water, above the water, under the water, above the water, and was like 4 or 5 miles from where the boat was at. And it was just the weirdest glitch, and and everybody was like, "Hey, where you at?" I don't know where I'm at.
Went to some unknown direction. I legitimately thought you were speed running like Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Like that's what it looked like.
It was so weird. It was just because it kept going because it kept going under the water, above the water, above it, and it was fast. So it was like it was the weirdest noise too.
Yeah.
And I could just see the island getting farther and farther out of the distance while I was going. It was like, okay,
excuse me while I break the sound barrier.
Yeah, and then finally the little merman guy showed up and said, "Hey, I'll transport you back to the ship." Well, thank God, because
like you shot yourself out of a cannon and somehow got reverse results.
Yeah,
complete opposite results of what one would expect when shooting themselves out of a cannon.
I don't even understand. I just don't even understand. But we had a blast. I mean, it's fun to play by yourself now. It's changed so much since when I can't remember if it was the beta that I played a little bit of or if it was right when it launched. It was somewhere around in there. But, when I first played it and you try to play it by yourself, you were just getting trolled the whole time. And it was just like,
a lot of griefers and just so much hostility.
Yeah.
My God,
but
so much.
All those people are like gone. I mean, it's just, and you barely, and half the time you don't really see a lot of NPCs, floating around, or a lot of people floating around. You see more NPCs, even though there's a ton of people playing the game. And I don't know if they're using some kind of phasing like they do in World of Warcraft or
more than likely.
But it's great. I mean, then we got done and we all went back to the bar before we logged off and got drunk and caught our vomit in buckets and threw it at each other. Of buckets, so, as you do,
as one does. I feel like you're not properly playing Sea of Thieves if you're not, it's just if you're not really treating it like Sea of Vomit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's
and
just
then, it was there at the end. Of course, we were all so punch drunk, tired that it was like.
What if they do an update to the game that says players have vomited this many times, so now the entire ocean is just acidic?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Don't swim in it.
I still didn't get that achievement for throwing my vomit on you, so we'll have to do it again.
So. I swear it's a real thing. I
know
swear,
it is.
Like,
it never popped for me, so it's
that's so weird.
So I have to do it again. But yeah, if you just want a good time of just. I mean, it's a good game. It's fun.
It's a great social game. I was laughing so hard, like pretty much 90% of the night. I mean, it just all the stupid things that happened, and then when you're navigating the ship, when you have the sails down, you can't see in front of you. So we ran into rocks many times.
So I would be up in the crow's nest, and he would be down below, and I'd be like, okay, there's a rock to your left. There's a rock to your left. Rock to your left, to your left, to your left, to your left. Never mind. Hit the rock, skim on around. But it was hilarious. And then we just.
I promise it wasn't intentional. It's just when you're, because the thing is people would pop in and out, right? So we have a ship that's meant for 4 people, but most of the time it was just John and I. But occasionally we would get those 2 extra people. But we're over here doing the duties of multiple people. So I'm over here navigating, and then I got to run down real quick to see where we are on the map just to make sure we're headed on the correct direction. And then we're both trying to put the sails down, and then John's he's got to put the anchor down, and sometimes we don't do that in time. It's just all
or
crazy.
We're just going full speed and we put the anchor down and we Blues Brother it into the parking spot because it pulls and yanks and jerks the boat all the way around.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hilarious. And then, like, you'd be going along, and one of the guys that was with us would just jump off the boat and swim over to an outpost and kill a bunch of NPCs and get a bunch of loot.
Yeah.
And then just appear back on
Just
the boat.
doing great work, and
we're
getting all
along.
the we're getting all the experience and gold for it as well, because everything is shared, and it's like, okay, all right. But it was just so ridiculous.
It was.
Yeah, there was one guy that would just like, we'd be passing by an island, not the island that we need to go to, but they'd be like, yo, and just shoot themselves right out of the cannon, go over there and just start, going to town on some skeletons. And it was absurd. It was absolutely absurd, but it was just nonstop laughs the entire day.
It was a good time, though. It was really a good time. I can't wait to do it again. It's I think next time, especially if Eric's with us, I think we need to try to do the Jack Sparrow stuff.
Sure.
See what that's like.
Is that in the game now?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember when that was being added.
Yeah, it
must have been the very end of June or something.
Yeah, it's been a week or two since they added it. So, and I don't know. I guess you could play it by yourself. It sounds like it's like
I believe you
there's a
can.
lot of NPCs go with you and stuff like that. So, but I haven't tried it yet because it's like, I'll wait and see. Maybe the rest of us can all do it together. So. The other game I've been playing is a game called Traveler's Rest on Steam. I heard about it on another podcast, and they were talking about a Stardew Valley game, but you own a tavern instead of a farm. And I went, that sounds kind of cool. It's like $14. I meant to grab it while it was on the Steam sale because I think it was like 10 or 12, but I forgot about it and I got home Friday. I actually played this on my phone over Steam Link with my with a controller upstairs, and it ran perfect. Because it's not a big graphic intensive game. It's 2D sprites. But I mean, you run a tavern, you set some tables down, you brew some beer, you make some porridge, and you open up your doors and people come in and buy your stuff. You're pulling beer out of the tap. You're cleaning the floors. You're cleaning the tables. When it gets cold outside, you make a fire so people are warm. And, as you go along, you can just level up. And like upstairs, you can rent rooms once you get to a certain level. And you can buy different kind of hops to make different kinds of beers. And, when you run out of porridge, you just default to serve gruel all the time. So, and that doesn't cost anything. You just always have you always have gruel on hand. But, it's like, it's just one guy that makes it. It's really a cool game. It's really fun. I mean, and it feels a lot like Stardew Valley.
It definitely looks like it too. I see it's still in early access. I think I've come across this game like once or twice, and usually I try to stay away from anything early access, but it seems like so far everybody seems to love it though. So
yeah, it's really good. I don't know what all they plan on adding. I didn't read any of the early access stuff, but I mean, he just said, "Yeah, I was a fan of Stardew Valley, and I wanted to make my own kind of game." And
the font's the same, and everything looks almost identical. But I like the idea of the tavern, though. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. And man, people are sloppy in that game. I'm constantly mopping the floors, and you get so far into it, and some of the guys will get rowdy. So you got to come out from behind the bar and like go up and press A button to calm them down. And if you don't, they want to try to pick a fight. And then you gotta kick them out of the bar, and the way you kick them out is you slap them in the head with your mop, and they'll, all right, I'll leave, and but like on the third
just
day,
like real life.
Yeah, really, the third day, like a cat just wandered in, and it was like, now you have a pet. Okay, I guess I need to buy a bed and a water pan for him, and the cat just lives there now. He just wandered in. But yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
It's a very simple game, but it's fun. You go out every morning, collect your wood, order your barley and stuff, and it'll come in a couple hours of game time, and then you just brew your beer, fill your taps up, and serve beer and food all day. So I'm anxious to see, how deep it is once you get into renting rooms, and there's a cellar, so I don't know what you'll do in the cellar. Grow.
Bury the bodies.
Yeah. No, that's Graveyard Keeper is what that one is.
Yes. No, yeah, I've played that. That one's also fun.
Yeah,
another of the probably continuing to grow list of like Stardew Valley, but this twist.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, and I liked Graveyard Keeper a lot too. And this one's along those lines too. It's a really cool game, and for $15, early access. I mean, it doesn't feel early access to me, but I mean, there is some stuff that they just haven't
Yeah. I mean,
finished yet.
early access can mean so many different things, and
Yeah.
it sounds like this one is very much we made sort of like a complete, in quotes, game. It's just it doesn't have all of the extra features and stuff that they plan to do it, but you can still play it and enjoy
Right.
it. When sometimes it's just like early access is like, here's this buggy thing
Yeah.
that you're not gonna have fun with, so why did we even bother putting it out?
Well, I'm hoping with all the positive reviews and stuff, I'm hoping maybe some publisher will pick him up and say, put it on Switch or put it on uh, Xbox or PlayStation or something. Get it out there to a lot of different places. Mobile, it'd
Maybe.
be
I
a
can see it
perfect mobile
happening.
game. So
Yeah, I can see that happening easily.
It's
but,
more like, is he going to want to
right.
give up his baby in order to do that now? Or is it, I will complete it and then maybe port it to other things later once he's finished it? Who knows?
I'd hope so. I'd at least like to see it come to mobile and Switch, because it would be a good mobile and Switch game for sure.
I can see that definitely for sure.
Because like
a lot of games that style go great with mobile or Switch or whatever.
Well, and like I say, I was playing at Steam Link on my mobile phone, so for like 3 or 4 hours. So it was just, it seemed like that was like a natural fit, even using the Backbone controller. It was perfect. It just plugged it in, and it just said, "Oh, you're using the controller. Okay, let's go." But yeah, it's definitely a cool game to check out if you got, especially if it's on sale. If it's on Steam sale again for like 20% off, it's a no brainer. So, go ahead, Dennis. What have you been playing?
Yep. So basically, obviously we touched on Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves was just a tremendous amount of fun. I honestly haven't played since vanilla, so seeing everything now again from what we've been playing, it's definitely improved a lot.
Yeah,
like a whole lot.
Water is just amazing.
Yeah, that's all. You can't help but compliment the water whenever you play that game. It's going to happen at least maybe 5 or 6 times every time you play.
Yeah. We were down here washing clothes the other day, and I sat Nikki down and I said, I just logged in and said, you just got to see this water in 4K. This is amazing.
I mean, there's like a few people there rare that like they had to nail the water, because that's what you're going to be seeing a lot in that game. And once they nailed it, they're like, all right, did it.
Yep.
Good job.
Give that person or people a raise, because
I'm sure they all celebrated at dinner. Had a fantastic dinner. It's like, dude, this is some of the best water in gaming history.
In like a decade, they'll be like, remember that time when we made that water?
I remember that water.
It was and still is some of the best water.
Shut up, Steve. You brought that up every day for like 10 years.
It just looks so wet.
So does this water.
Yeah, right. But no, and we got to get Eric on board, and then whenever you get an Xbox or get Game Pass, you got to get Nathaniel on board, all 4 of us, because
for sure.
Holy crap, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, but anyway, so Sea of Thieves, we really like
it. It's I mean, I played for 3 months straight when that game first came out. So I just put just an ungodly amount of hours into it, and had the time of my life. At the time, just met a lot of really awesome people, and just did some awesome things. I just remember like one of my more proud moments is definitely getting everybody on the server on one boat. That was amazing. And then having tweeted about it, and everything was just so. I still remember this just like it was yesterday, because of everything that happened at the time. Like I did it, and then like literally the following day, if not that same night, I went to the ER, and then I remember I tweeted about it.
Oh, geez.
At the hospital. Yeah, and then they had retweeted it, and then it just went, viral after that. But it was, I think Sea of Thieves basically quote tweeted it as basically saying like, "See, like the real treasure was friendship all along," or something along those lines. It was a great tweet. It was a fantastic tweet, but. But yeah, no, that was awesome. But yeah, no, just been having a great time playing Sea of Thieves again with John,
Yeah.
and
It's
yeah,
nice
looking forward to many more nights playing Sea of Thieves.
It's just nice just to play just a fun game, not
Yeah,
not that
it's not something
it's not
you
really
stress out over,
serious. You
really.
don't have to stress
Yeah,
out over it. Especially once we figured out how to beat those big guys. Because there for a while it was like we were
yeah,
just running from them. But
yeah.
it's like
And even then, like, it's not that punishing either, because like
mm-mm.
even if you die a lot, like, I mean, you respawn where you were, and then and then there's always the chance that, like, you have a crewmate, revive you and stuff like that, so you don't necessarily lose a bunch of stuff. Like, you're fine, really.
Yeah,
It's like the sort of level of danger is like really, really minimal. Actually, it's just such a great, relaxing, like, social kind of experience.
yeah,
But even if you're playing alone, it's still a really great time just because of how much they've improved it.
yeah.
But yeah, in addition to that, speaking of social games, this came out on the 9th, so Friday. Uh, there's a new MMO that just came out, at least in the West. It's actually been in China now for the better part of 5 years. This game is called Swords of Legends Online. It's piqued my interest for a while just because I loved the environment. Like, the environmental design is absolutely stunning. Now, it's brand new, just came out, and it basically is this sort of like Asian fantasy genre sort of aesthetic to it, and it's the environments are just so stunning. Like, it's crazy. But the thing that I love about this so far, now, it is an MMO. Now, I've tried to stay away from MMOs for a while now, but this one kind of spoke to me in a different way, and I'm glad it did, because it's not something that wants to take up, like, it respects your time, which I feel like a lot of MMOs don't do. It
Right.
respects your time and doesn't mind if you want to dedicate all your time to it or just some of the time to it. It doesn't care if you're a hardcore player or a casual player, because it's going to reward you the same either way, which is awesome. And a lot of the gear and stuff that you see is purely cosmetic, which I love. So, I mean, obviously, the stuff you get in game obviously is going to increase your stats, but in terms of like the premium stuff that you pay for, purely cosmetic. Nothing is pay to win. They don't abuse you with stuff, like, to get you to spend even more money. Like, you just pay the entry fee, which is $40 for the base game, $60 for the deluxe edition,
Gotcha.
or I think 90 or 100 for the collectors / ultimate. And all those really give you are like extra mounts and stuff like that. So again, it doesn't matter, if you don't care about the stuff, perfect, just pay the $40 and you're in. And and so far I've been having a really great time with it. Haven't put as much time into it as I would have liked so far, mainly because the first couple of hours of me starting, and this was happening to everybody, they were having some server maintenance issues, because I guess obviously, as is with games like these, everybody tries to log in at once, so this always happens. So it just can't handle the traffic.
Right.
So of course the servers get messed up, and so I spent the better part of 3 hours, 1 hour per attempt, before I was finally able
Jeez.
to create my character. Like, my God. So, like, you'll see I'll have maybe like 8 or 9 hours on Steam or whatever, but I promise you I've maybe only clocked in truthfully about 2
Now,
in
is there
terms
a
of like
monthly
actual
fee
gameplay.
to it, or is it
No,
just
no,
okay? So it's just the
no.
point, and that may
Yep,
be. There's a lot of people who are upset with World of Warcraft right now. So I'm
that's
wondering
me.
I'm wondering if some of these MMOs like Final Fantasy and this one, especially if one that you don't have to pay monthly for, you just buy it and you just play it.
Yep.
A lot of people are jumping boat until WoW gets their crap in line. So, or if
Yeah,
they do it.
it's unfortunate, just because I bought Shadowlands when it came out, and yeah, I still have yet to play it, just because, like, it's those subscription fees that kill me, man. Like,
Yeah.
they kill everybody. It's just like there's enough that we're all paying subscription fees for now. Obviously, the companies, they don't care about what else you're paying for. They just really hope and want you to pay for their subscription, and like, I get that, but at the same time, you also have to be mindful and do the proper research and development that make it, and just price your stuff competitively. Also, I just feel like, $15 a month is kind of steep for when there's already that, you know, entry barrier of $60 to begin with per expansion usually, so
and
but thankfully this was
how long has World of Warcraft been around at this point? 15 years.
exactly.
The only reason they do it is because they can.
Yeah.
They could make and they could probably make just as much money or more if they went free to play, but they just don't need to try and switch that up because it's just such a big beast that if they had to change all the coding underneath it, they'd probably just break it at this point anyways. So they're just like, no, we'll keep it as is.
Yeah, 2004. So that's what, 16 years.
Yep.
That's a long time.
Yep, long
There's some
time.
people have been paying that every month
17.
for 16 years. Yeah, 17.
That's crazy.
Can
you imagine? Like, what's the math on that? What's 15 times 12 times?
It'll depress you.
Don't do it. It's a trap.
Yeah, it's a trap. Don't do it. Don't do it.
My lord.
I mean, we used to play World of Warcraft. Surely. I bought it the day one and played it until Burning Crusade, and then came back Lich King and played it all the way to Mist. And me and my wife both did. And
seems like a lot of people fell off around Pandaria.
We just did. I mean, we just didn't play it. We didn't have time, and Wrath was still my favorite.
More and more with time.
I think Lich King is everybody's favorite. I feel like most people just enjoy it.
Seems like when it peaked for me, anyway.
My decision to never play World of Warcraft only gets better with time going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
And plus, also the few times I've tried, a free-to-play MMO, too, it's just no, even if I would play World of Warcraft and enjoy it for a bit, it would not be worth the money for me.
Yeah.
So I just have never jumped in.
If Nikki hadn't got on... around Lich King, I probably wouldn't have played as long as I did. She enjoyed it, I enjoyed it. We like to play together, so and there's been times that we've sat down and went, maybe we'll come back, and then we kind of went, nah. We used to do it in the summertime when she wasn't working, but now I don't have time to sit down and play games I paid $50-$60 for, much less something that's monthly. Well, I bought a 2-month price or 2-month ticket to Final Fantasy Online to try it out since they did the PlayStation 5. I've played it maybe 2 hours, and it's like I haven't had time. I haven't had time.
It's unfortunate. That's the biggest problem, because I'm also someone who has dabbled in quite a bit of Final Fantasy 14, and once again, it's those subscriptions that just as much as I want to come back, I just simply cannot. And I also don't want to worry about, because the thing is with the subscription also is I know I'm wasting money, because out of the 30 days that you give me for that $15, again, from everything that we review and all the other games coming out and stuff like that, and then just personal lives in general, I maybe get, out of the 30 days, maybe 4 days of gameplay out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you don't play any other games, then but...
Oh, then sure, go for it.
Yeah, go for it, but...
Yeah,
it's hard if you play tons of different things. So.
It's unfortunate, and that's why I so far have been now it's not perfect, and I'll get to that stuff in a second. But first impressions in terms of how the economy is run and how the game treats its players, Swords of Legends Online so far has been basically what I've wanted out of an MMO for quite some time now. Just give me I don't mind, because I rather pay for a game than it be free to play, obviously, because with free to play they got to make money somehow, and then that's when you start getting bombarded with all the microtransactions and stuff. But I've paid for it, and now that I've just been enjoying it, and I don't ever have to worry about me logging in one day and it telling me, hey, your subscription is up, you can't log in. You just pay for it and you enjoy it like you would any other game, and you can spend as much time as you want on it or as little time as you want on it, and no matter what, it will reward you and appreciate you the same way, which is something that I am a big fan of. So in terms of the system and how it works, it's very smart, it's user friendly, and it respects the consumer, which I appreciate. Again, nothing pay to win in there. This has been out for years in China, just now came out in the West, and the reviews so far have been very positive, and you'll see very consistently that a lot of that positivity comes from thank you for not shoving a bunch of transactions down people's throats, and just letting people enjoy the game. You look at something like Genshin Impact, right, which has been, and that's actually free to play, but it respects the user's time, and and respects if they don't want to spend any money on it. So But I know Nathaniel, you've probably spent the most time on it more than
I mean, I'm just thinking of a couple of my friends who are still way into Genshin Impact. Is like, respect your money if you have good willpower. Knowing one of my friends,
well, as any free to play, yeah.
But also, like, yeah, like they're putting out big updates to that every once in a while, and then that game makes them tons of money for all the people who are like, I want this epic, cool character that I have to spend a bunch of money trying to get the lucky rolls to get it.
Well, and we were
respect your time. Everyone complains about like high level players in there. Or complains about like what is it, the resin system or whatever it is.
Well, we were.
Well, I guess that's another thing.
Talking about that with Sea of Thieves,
but,
looking through the.
I'm just
store,
like,
you know.
Yeah, I played maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 hours of that, never spent a dime on it, had fun, and then they've done like a bunch of updates since then. If I wanted to go back, I could, but a couple of my friends have just been playing it, and so I've just got all that running through my brain of all the stuff that they complain about.
Yeah, and it's another thing that that you'll see too that's pretty consistent in reviews for Swords of Legends, where it, you know, you can choose between PvE and PvP, but once again, either way does not matter. The rewards and stuff do not change. You know, it's just how you prefer to play, and yeah, it's just super accessible, and I just really appreciate how it functions mechanically, and just how the ecosystem is, and just the overall design philosophy around it. It's really, really nice. And again, everything that is paid is purely cosmetic, so mounts and stuff like that, which again you can get in game, but obviously they have special stuff that you can just pay for, but no advantage other than it looks pretty, you know. That's it. So, you know, same thing with armor, and there's a lot of transmog and stuff like that, but once again, purely cosmetic, so you get no advantage at all whatsoever. But that's the good stuff. Now the bad stuff. So honestly, the biggest thing comes down to, and again, this has been out for around 5-ish years now in China. Now, localization for MMOs are always going to be gargantuan in size. So having to take all that text and all that dialogue and translate it, you know, obviously is going to take some time. But the localization here is just not good, at least for like the voices and stuff, because the actual like written translations and stuff like that and subtitles, like they're fine actually. Everything's coherent, everything is pretty much what you expect from a native English speaker. However, when you hear the voice acting, it is so bad, and it is all over the place, and it is miserable, and like the audio mixing is all over the place as well. And not to mention, the worst part is probably the cutscenes. Like, I don't mind if lip syncs don't, because sometimes the characters will clearly stop talking, but the voice will still keep going, because it's just the animations and stuff are just built around, you know, the Chinese language. But the biggest hiccup and the biggest issue I have with it really is just some of the cutscenes are ruined. Now, the cutscenes visually are fantastic. This game is flashy, and the way that you sort of do the combat and whatnot is very much, you can totally treat it like it's an MMO, but you can treat it like an action RPG if you want. Actually, when you start the game, it has you choose, like, how do you want your control scheme to be? Do you want classic RPG mode or action RPG mode? And basically, which is just saying, like, do you want an MMO format, or do you want to just click buttons and have cool stuff happen, you know, rather than just being like, you know, spamming 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, stuff like that. You can just left click or right click and accomplish the same thing that way, like you would if you were playing like Devil May Cry or, you know, Nier or something like that. So, and yes, you can play with a controller. It is accessible with a controller as well, which is super, super cool. Now, I've been going back and forth. It's really cool if just by pressing the control button, just like that, seamlessly, you can switch between modes, which is really nice when I want to just select stuff on my interface, you know, because sometimes reaching over to get, you know, shortcut keys and stuff like that and just aren't as comfortable. So it's nice that that's there too. It's just really, really intuitive how it's set up. But anyways, with the localization, the voice acting is just horrible. But the worst part of the localization is that the cutscenes are built again around the Chinese language. So for the cutscenes that are not necessarily pre-rendered, but the ones that aren't just dialogue exchanges, because with dialogue exchanges, like you just proceed on to the next line once you click your mouse or press F. You can do either or. But in the cutscenes where you have to watch them, like, and there's like actual animations happening rather than just two people standing and talking to each other, those get cut off, and it's annoying because they'll be mid sentence and then they'll be like, "Oh my god, look, it's the," and then like, and then it'll just go on to the next line of somebody just being like, "Oh my god, grandma." And then like mid sentence, like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" And then like it just keeps cutting off. It's terrible. Like it kills the mood. It kills the cutscenes. It kills the mood, because again, the voice lines themselves in English are way too long, but in Chinese they've already finished saying what they're saying, and then so the cutscene, just kind of goes on to the next angle, and the next line or whatnot. So it's a big problem with the localization. Optimization seems to be all over the place as well. It was so funny. Like literally the last 2 days that I've been playing, what I have played is like the chat has been nothing but just like, "Yo, what GPU are you using?" Because literally everyone's like, the frames are all over the place, and like somebody's like, "Dude, I'm on like a 3080, and like I can like barely like crack like 90 FPS." And the game is gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but it's just the optimization tends to be all over the place, right? But then you hear somebody else being like, "Dude, I got a 2060 Ti, and like I'm doing like 200 plus frames, whatever, and then you got someone like me who's kind of like, I'm on a what am I? I'm on an RTX 2080 as well, something like that. And I'm like, I hover between like 40 and like 65 a lot. And so, and then you have people who, are on like, somebody said they were on a 1660, a much older card, and they were getting 75 plus frames like consistently. I'm like, what in the world is going on? But everybody's like complaining and sharing specs and stuff like that, and it's just all over the place. Right. So but the game is absolutely stunning though, and I mean it's certainly playable, but yeah, the optimization is just all over the place. But yeah, no, the biggest issue really is just the localization, more than anything, and just the voices are just so bad. I just much would have preferred them just keep it in Chinese, honestly, and just have the English subs instead. Because
I'm
honestly,
they didn't. I mean,
yeah,
really.
Yeah. Like I appreciate the effort to go out of the way and actually, get actual like voices for people who want that experience. But I mean, at what cost? So it's unfortunate. But other than that, again, the game itself and the design philosophy and the ecosystem around it is really, really well done. Loving it so far. I'm very happy with it, especially as someone who's super critical with MMOs. Not because I dislike them. I don't know. I love them, but it's just sort of the trend in MMOs that we've seen, over the last maybe 10 years now, and with more going free to play and how they sort of treat, the games themselves, in order to stay afloat, obviously. So, but yeah, I've been playing that. It's been a lot of fun. In addition to that, I've been playing Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. Had the pleasure of reviewing that. I had to keep that quiet for a little bit, but the game is out now. So now I can talk about it, and it is fantastic. So the original one came out on 3DS way back in like maybe 2014, 2015, something maybe. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. It's been a long while. This was actually one of those games that got announced at a Nintendo Direct that I was surprised to see. I was like, "Oh my god, they're actually doing a sequel for this?" Because I didn't think it was like it was an amazing game. But no matter how great a game is, if it doesn't do well commercially, they don't really have much incentive to go ahead and do another one. So, it was one of those situations where I was like, "Oh my god, wow!" But the first one was really, really good. And if you're not familiar with Monster Hunter Stories, it is basically, to put it in the simplest terms, just think of Pokemon in a Monster Hunter universe as basically what it is. except instead of like catching them, you're taming them, and you can hatch all the monsters, or monsties as they refer to them as through eggs and whatnot. You just hatch the eggs as you get them, and then you build kind of like a bond with them, and the more of a bond that you build via the levels, and like stuff like that, the stronger they become, because you play as a rider, not a hunter, like you would in a typical Monster Hunter game. But you play as a rider, so you're essentially taming them, and you have your own stables and stuff like that. And it's not. And when I say stables, it's not like a monster management system. It's nothing like that. You're not going to have to go back and feed them or anything like that. It's just they're just kind of there. It's almost like a storage. Just think of it like a glorified Pokemon Center. Right. But that's where they stay until you want to switch them out and whatnot. But yeah, no, it's great. They went for more. The first one had more of like a chibi sort of art direction to it. This one's definitely a lot more like, probably Breath of the Wild is probably the best way to kind of compare it to.
That's what it kind of looks like, that, or like a kind of
like a Ni no Kuni maybe kind of too.
Teen anime Saturday morning cartoon weird mashup kind of. But yeah, that's pretty much Breath of the Wild.
I've been tempted to get it several times. It's on sale for like $50 on Amazon right now.
That's all.
It's even more tempting to.
Yeah, I added it to my Steam wish list. So next time it's a Steam sale, maybe it'll be actually on sale because it won't have just come out.
Right.
Yeah, it's well worth it. I promise you. This is, I think, one of the best RPGs to come out in quite some time, and I hope Capcom does more stuff like this in the future, because it's so fleshed out and so deep and so well thought out, and it's just crazy. And once again with environments, the environments are gorgeous. Funny enough, there's a lot of areas in that game that actually, believe it or not, of all games, kind of remind me of like Ghost of Tsushima, just in terms of like the colors, and like you'll see like flower petals and go through with the wind as you're riding across the huge lands and stuff like that. And the cutscenes, oh my god, are amazing. They're like super cinematic, super well done, and like it's awesome. I can't recommend it enough. I think this is probably one of the best RPGs on Switch, like, period.
I think they're trying to take advantage of Monster Hunter being as popular as it's ever been, because Monster Hunter World blew up so big that some of these side games they're hoping will do better too.
And I hope this does do great, because again, it deserves the light of day. I mean, the first one was great, but this is like, wow, like this
looks like, really good.
Yeah.
I was reading some like reviews and stuff on it, so I was like, "Yep, add it to the wish list. I'll get to it maybe eventually, along with the way too many other games that are on my wish list."
It's well worth it. I promise you. Again, go read the review. It's an awesome game. So I highly recommend it, especially if you're a big fan of RPGs. So, but yeah, in addition to that, Nintendo's newest game on the topic of Switch, it was Mario Golf. Not long ago, probably at the end of June, actually, so a couple weeks ago, and it's been an awesome time. It's been such a fantastic time playing that game. Tons of fun, especially like online playing with friends. It's just given so many laughs with the new speed golf mode, which is absurd. Because basically how it works is like you shoot you hit the ball, and after you've done that, rather than just like most golf games, rather than just spawning at where the next golf ball is, you really have to race to the ball. So everybody races, and you can hit each other and knock each other off balance and stuff like that. And with speed golf, not only do you have to try to get the ball in the hole, as in a technical fashion. So you want to get your birdies, you want to get your eagles, potentially hole-in-ones, stuff like that. You want to avoid the bogeys, but time is a big factor of this too. So you want to do it fast, right? So like, because time plus your shots taken kind of like equals like how they kind of like do the math there with a certain time, and basically whoever has the least time by the end of the match wins. But that all comes down to how many strokes you've taken, as well as again how long you've taken. So I mean, you can get a birdie all you want, but if you're out on the field for 10 minutes, meanwhile somebody else has a double bogey, but they finished the course in 2 minutes, I promise you they're doing better than you were. I promise you. So time is a big factor in this as well.
I've played it a little bit, but I haven't played the speed golf. I've just played the regular, just hop in for 3 holes and hop out.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. Like whether you're playing standard speed golf or battle golf, that battle golf is absurd. It's absolutely absurd, in both good and bad ways. It's wild. You're in this arena basically, and you basically have to race to the first one to shoot 3 holes wins basically, and there's flags kind of placed sporadically throughout the arena, and there's like traps and stuff like that too. And then like if someone like ends up getting in the flag that you were trying to get to, the flag disappears. Like after someone shoots a hole in it disappears. So if you were trying to go for that one, not too bad. I guess I got to go find another one now somewhere on the other side of the arena. So but it gets crazy. You can throw bombs. It's almost kind of Mario Kart-ish also, because you can throw like bananas peels and the bombs and stuff like that. It gets crazy. But the online portion for that mode in particular is horrendous. Like, my God. I mean, we all know Nintendo doesn't have the best network infrastructure anyways to begin with, with or without an Ethernet port. But with that mode in particular, it's been pretty okay with speed golf and standard golf. Like I've very rarely encountered issues, but with battle golf, my God, not only is it running at like 10 frames, but it's freezing everywhere, it's lagging everywhere, and then like the dynamic, because it has dynamic resolution, because it's always trying to it's attempting to always run at 60 frames no matter what. So you got to kind of have this like weird sort of buffer VSync and stuff like that. It gets bad. Like, it's hard, like whether you're playing in TV mode or handheld mode, especially, like it's hard to see what's going on the screen just because that resolution drops like horrendously. Like, my God, like it just, like, in some cases I was like, oh, okay, so I guess we're just playing World Tour on the 3DS then. Okay. Because with this resolution, my God, like it's just, it gets bad. It gets real bad. And then of course they don't believe in anti-aliasing, so everything's even more jagged than it already is. So that drives me crazy. But overall, though, the game is an immense amount of fun. I actually have it on my actually, because those are the 2 games I'm playing the most right now. On my PC, well, 3 games. On my PC, I got the Swords of Legends online. On my Switch Lite, I've got Monster Hunter Stories being played, and then on my regular Switch, I've got Mario Golf up on there. So that's kind of like my trifecta at the moment.
Yeah.
And then when I do have the time, I like to jump into some Scarlet Nexus as well. I've been playing some Scarlet Nexus, and that's been the newest one from Bandai Namco up until Tales of Horizons up coming out here in a couple of months. But that one is a ton of fun. Just think of it like it's like a hack and slash light almost. It's very
I tried the demo. Interesting.
I like it a lot. But I'm into those sorts of games. I love like brawlers and hack and slashes and stuff like that. So it's kind of, outside of platformers, it's really what I grew up on, and between Devil May Cry and God of War, and then of course the original Nier, and and Bayonetta and Vanquish and all of those, so it's Darksiders. I've just always been a big fan of those. And but Scarlet Nexus has been like the aesthetic. I think one thing that people don't give enough credit to is that the enemy design in that game is unbelievable. Like it is like, after you defeat an enemy, you can go to like sort of like an encyclopedia and like just look at some art basically, and it is so detailed and so beautiful, and it's like as creepy as it is beautiful. And there's like certain animations that are so subtle, and I didn't realize them until a couple hours in, where like there's one, I forgot the name of it, but it's like this ballerina sort of looking enemy, and but once you defeat them, before they like explode into like a bunch of different like digital petals, they do this sort of like like someone would do at the end of like, a theater or like a play, right? Where they just kind of bow down and they do kind of that, right? They just kind of do something like that. They do something like that just before, only for like a couple of frames before they, just explode into a million pieces. But I'm like, man, like just nice little things like that. It just makes you appreciate the sort of design around it much, much more. Again, it's subtle and most people probably haven't noticed it. But it's like just amazing to me. It's absolutely amazing. So, but no, Scarlet Nexus is awesome. I've been having a great time with it so far. After I'm done, there's technically two stories. They kind of like they're different but similar in a lot of different ways. Just like they share a lot of the same events, but the perspectives are entirely different. So you kind of get a different perspective on the stories on depending on whether you go for the guy or the girl. But it definitely gives more incentive for replayability. So the game's awesome so far. The combat feels good. It's definitely not as fluid as it was in the demo, and they kind of did that on purpose because once you get the real game, you realize there's a skill tree, and all that stuff in the demo is stuff you actually have to unlock in the skill tree. Yeah. So the demo, of course, wanted to make you feel like this god. So
well, they do that with demos for this a lot, where it's like, here's all the stuff, but if you're doing the actual game, it's spread out over time. One, just so that you're not going to get it all at the start, but two, so you can learn it as you go.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But for a demo, they don't care. Just like, here you go. Right. Here's all the stuff.
I was playing that demo, and I was like, wow! Right off the bat, you just feel tremendous, and it's like, this is great. And then I'm like, I bet it really is not like this. I bet they've dropped me down in about like the next to last boss game or something.
You start the game and you just have like a stick. And you're like,
Like, actually, what is this?
So actually, now having played the full game, the demo is actually like the beginning of the game, pretty much. It's like pretty much the second level, but they give you all so many skills as if you're on like the 15th level. Like it's crazy, like with all the things you can do, with all the different connections you can do with multiple people and gaining their powers, because everybody's a psychic in that game, so you can do like kind of like some like X-Men stuff where it's just like, here's fire, I can just, here's pyro, and here's frost and stuff like that. So but live wire and things like that. So but it's been awesome. Like of course in true sort of like anime hack and slash fashion, it's very flashy, and but it's interesting, having a great time with it. It's a beautiful game. The enemy design's great, and I'm just excited to play more. I haven't played as much as I would have liked, but it's just because of everything I've been playing. But it's awesome. It's a very good game.
It's on my list to pick up, whether it's $20 in a year from now or whatever. I definitely want to pick it up and play, because the demo, I was interested. The demo really hooked me. I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. But
because I wasn't necessarily skeptical at first, but I was definitely one of those. It was definitely one of those games where I was like, man, I want that, but I don't need that right away.
Right? I mean? That's the way I am. Yeah. Plus, I've got a stack of games this high that I really like to finish playing. Before I still haven't finished Mass Effect 1 on Legendary. I need to, and I'm literally almost right at the end. I just need to finish it so I can play 2.
It's like 1 is, the shortest of those games.
I know, right? And I'm right there. It's like, but what's
And
bad
like,
is I'm not even able to take my box on the road with me, because I'm skipping from hotel to hotel, and I just, unless I'm going to stay for a couple days at a hotel, I refuse to take that Xbox with me and have to drag it around every single freaking day, and I don't want to do that. So that.
Plus, you don't want to just like leave it in a hot car.
No,
at this time
I don't want to do that
so,
either. Especially when I'm going to be in North Carolina in a hot car. No, thank you. Thank you.
It's humid enough as it is. I actually went out earlier, only for 2 seconds. I had a package in the front door. I took one step. I was exposed to the outside world for 2 seconds. And already I couldn't breathe. I was sweating. It was not a good time.
I mean, that's because we got all that rain all day on Thursday, so it's all still in the ground, and
I was down there Tuesday and Wednesday, and
so you got
literally working in the stores with the air conditioner running, and it was still so humid I was sweating. And then Thursday, it was actually still humid, but 75 degrees and pouring rain. It was like, every time I come to North Carolina, since I left North Carolina, there's always a hurricane. I don't care what time of year it is. There's a hurricane that comes in, and it'll be, you wake up in the morning and look at the forecast like, 75, that's pretty cool for July in North Carolina. And then you walk out and forget, the humidity's like 420%. It's like,
it's 75, but feels like 120.
Yeah, it's like,
how do you do this? I don't get it.
It's ridiculous. It's like I really don't miss the summertime down there, but we don't have it much better up here. So it's just as humid here as it is down there. So sometimes more so. But yeah, it was miserable last week. So yeah, but I don't want to just leave my Xbox in the truck all day while I'm working. It's just not.
Yeah.
Come back and it'll be a puddle.
Yeah, really. Why won't this work anymore? Oh, it's because everything that was soldered on it became unsoldered and rusted in the humidity while it was sitting there. It's like, okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, again, that was 2 seconds of exposure, and already I was like having trouble breathing. And like, my God, it was thick. Like, just that. Oh,
can't wait to come down tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, open arms as always. So.
Nathaniel, you played some Ratchet and Clank. How long did it take for you to beat Ratchet and Clank? Because I'm assuming you did. I've heard like 6 hours.
6 hours is too short. No, it's longer than 6 hours.
Is it? Okay. I have it. I just haven't played
okay, let me put it this way. I've beat it twice now.
Okay.
Because I went through again on, like, they call it challenge mode, but it's basically New Game Plus, where you keep all of your weapons that you had at the end, and then you can upgrade them more on your second playthrough. But I think the first time through was probably close to 15, 16 hours, maybe. Okay. And that was like 100%ing all the collectibles the first time through. Which is pretty easy to do because once you get, like, I don't know, maybe 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through, you get like a thing that was like a treasure map compass thing or whatever that puts every icon on your map. Because if you're exploring and wandering around a map, if you get close to or see something, even if you don't technically see it with your brain because you missed it, but you're close enough, it'll pop up on a map. But late in the game, you get an item that's like, here you go. Here's where all the collectibles are on your map. So if you want to go get them, you can. But that game is 10 out of 10. It's just as good as you would hope it would be.
Yeah.
It's a really good Ratchet and Clank game as like a basis, but then with all the just the technical stuff on top of it, it's amazing. It's an amazing game. It's like all of the stuff throughout the entire game, they put purposefully so many shiny surfaces, whether that's like metal or glass or even things with other textures that aren't just like straight up reflections. Just the materials in that game are so good. And I watched the Digital Foundry interviewed one of the technical team members on there, and it's just like they did some crazy wizardry to get that game to run. Because I was playing it on the 60 FPS with ray tracing mode.
Yeah, that's what I played.
And
that's what I played it on.
That is the mode to play it on, because like you're doing yourself a disservice if you're playing it at 30 frames a second. And like putting it on 30 frames a second with ray tracing gives you some extra resolution, I think. And I don't know about like any of the other like settings or anything, but it looks just as good.
Yeah.
On like whatever like scaling they're doing from 1440 up to 4K or whatever it may be, looks really, really good. Just like every single little bit of that game is just somebody put their love into it. There's so much just detail and just love and care that went into every single little corner of that game.
It looks better than their movie. I mean,
oh yeah,
and that's the thing. It looks better than their movie does. I mean,
the whole time I'm playing this, I'm like, this feels like I'm playing through just like a Pixar or any other big studio movie, because the lighting in that game is really, really good on top of all the materials, all the different systems coming together to make it just look amazing. And it's not any different. This is something the technical guy in the interview said, that they're not using a different model for cutscenes and gameplay. It's the same one.
Yeah.
So like, there's times where you'll just like go, and games have done this for a long time, where you like try and seamlessly come out of cutscenes.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll do the full like camera pullback, and you're like, okay, I know. But sometimes they'll be like, oh wait, I have to play now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is what I'm playing. Yeah, this is not
because they won't just like pop the HUD up every time, so it'll still just be like, you know, clean, you know, screen, whatever you're looking at, and then it's like, oh wait, I can move.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, I've
Yeah,
only
like
played like an hour of it, and it's just and the whole hour I'm just walking around, just like, oh my gosh, just looking at stuff, just
so did you get
mesmerized by it.
through to, did you see the title screen pop up at
Yep.
all yet?
Yeah,
Okay, and then did you play much past that?
a little bit. I haven't had much time to play
Okay,
much past
so you
that.
kind of got into the first main real
Yeah.
area of the game then, but didn't get to see much of it. Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how far you got. Yeah, like
I hadn't got real
that game
far
starts out looking pretty. It's nothing compared to some of the other stuff later in that game.
Yeah.
But like the ray tracing is what gets most of the attention as far as what people are talking about for the visuals, for good reason, because like you can just like randomly catch yourself reflecting in surfaces and things like that all the time, which is always fun. It was fun in Control when Control does that, but like this is even way more of a level of here's all sorts of shiny surfaces in this game.
Yeah.
But the like level of detail and just like the textures on things, like you get real close and there's still this like fine detail for just like here's what like Ratchet's clothes, you can like I can reach out and touch that and know what it'll feel like.
Yeah.
And like details in all the animations. There's the animation in this game, I think, is my favorite part because they do a good job of making it feel cartoony and having cartoony physics, which had to have been a nightmare to do in like a 3D game engine. But whatever they're doing kind of like visually to, you know, do all these things where they're like squashing and stretching and all this stuff that you would see in kind of like pre-made you know, cartoon, you know, shows, movies, whatever, all those old techniques. They're doing that in game, sometimes just live in gameplay, just like the weight of like just your jumps and all that stuff, all the things the enemies are doing. It feels like you're playing a big cartoon, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it really
Same
is.
with like the writing in the game. You're playing a big cartoon. There's so many just dumb puns and just fun, silly things the characters say, which, you know, it's a Ratchet and Clank game, so you expect it to have that feel. It's not anything really new. It's just they're doing it to a really good, high quality degree. Let's see. There's like I think 20 different weapons by the end of the game.
Something like that.
In this one, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 20 because like each you have like a weapon wheel that fills up is 8 total. You get 2 full weapon wheels and then 4 more in the last one. Now that I've unlocked everything, including the Rhino 8 or whatever they call it in this game. But yeah, they have a lot of fun with just the whole different dimensions conceit that this game has. Gives a lot of fun stuff just for cutscenes and just the story they're telling, for having the different characters, for game mechanics, for everything. It's like permeated throughout. You can tell that like this is something they thought about a lot and like iterated on a bunch to get the best versions of all the ideas. So like you see in like the gameplay trailers and stuff where you have like the little rift over there that you kind of like throw out and pull yourself to it. It's basically just kind of like a hook shot or a grappling hook in any other game, except instead of pulling yourself to a thing, you're pulling a thing to yourself.
Right.
It's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
And then there's also like some hidden pocket dimensions that you open up a thing and you just like boop, walk through a door into another level, no loading, and it's a little like platforming puzzle to get a like unlockable piece of armor or whatever, and then you're back out in, you know, a minute or two at most. But just the technical, like, and they do it so well that you don't even think about it. But again, that going back to that interview, he's saying all the hurdles they had to jump to make that so smooth is kind of ridiculous because you're on one part of the level and then you're looking through a portal to a completely different part of the level that's like hidden miles away behind a mountain or wherever it might be, technically in physical space that you'll never see just walking around. And you just walking through that means that you have to have the character location pops over like miles away, then the camera might be on the other side of the portal still, and then come through the portal, and they have to have it go through and jump all these locations and do all this stuff seamlessly. That you're just thinking about, you're like, man, they had to like solve a whole bunch of stuff in order to do that. It's impressive because it feels just like, yeah, this is normal, it just works.
Yeah, there was another game that kind of did something like that, and I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't as well done as it is in Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
The Salt.
Well, very much Those doorways feel a lot like Portal, except with Portal, you're not forever away. You're just like, hey, I shot it across the room.
Right there.
So it's always in the same kind of area, sort of. But like with these, they're doing something where like, hey, it's a completely different environment out over here. Whatever, you can just walk through the door and you're there.
I'd like to play it in
Crazy.
3D or VR. I figure that coming towards me the first time would terrify.
That'd be crazy.
I don't know that would change.
Engine,
VR would be cool. 3D, I don't think would do anything for it.
Yeah.
It would feel about the same.
Yeah.
It's not like something's coming out of the screen or anything like that to it. It's just more of a translocation thing. You're moving the level. It's just like I didn't get it at first in my head that way, but as soon as I was playing it for a while, I was like, wait a minute, this is like any other game where you'd have a grappling hook point.
Yep.
But instead of you moving to it, you're staying place and you're like pulling the level to you, and just if you like sit and watch it as it goes, it just looks cool every single time.
Yeah. It really does.
But there's a lot of different kind of like level variety in just environments and what you're doing in them. There's some bigger levels. There's a few that are a little bit smaller in scale that you spend less time in. There's a ton of collectibles and unlocks to get. All the golden bolts that you can get are worth getting because they also have some sort of cosmetic thing they do. So like, hey, you can change your hammer or your wrench skins. You can change your spaceship skin. You can turn on numbers like you're in an RPG and all like numbers come off enemies when you hit them. I turned that one on right away. It's fun. Gotta have more stuff on screen. It's not like it doesn't have enough already.
Right, exactly.
It's got. I'm trying to think what some of the other ones in there. I don't know. There's a ton of them. There's like 20 or 30 of those that you get throughout the game. One of them will reskin basically all the bolts that you get. Like when you're breaking crates, all the currency of the game. It's kind of like nuts and bolts by default because it's a Ratchet and Clank game. You can change them to the energy drink from Sunset Overdrive. You can change it to, I forget, a couple other things that I didn't care about, but there's one they call rubies, which is basically just Legend of Zelda rupees that are about as big as like Clank himself. They're huge. So like the normal size of all these nuts and bolts coming out of boxes is just like there's a ton of them, but they're really fairly small. They're like, hey, this is the size of a bolt would be for the character, but instead, let's have these gems that are like as tall as the character, same amount of them exploding everywhere on screen. And they make a different noise too, so it's a lot more like tinkly, and it's coming out of like the controller. It's so much fun. I did that on my like New Game Plus playthrough. I was like, let me turn some of these skins on. Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, a lot of them are fun. Like the pixel gun is one of my favorites. I really like that pixel gun.
Yeah, I think that's from like older games.
Yeah.
I'm assuming because that one you should get right at the very end is kind of like that one and another one that's like right at the very end that was like, okay, this seems like returning weapons.
Yeah.
They have, was it the topiary sprinkler was one of my favorites just because it's like you throw out kind of like a grenade and when it hits a little like sprinkler comes up and then like starts sprinkling around and any enemy that gets it turns into a shrubbery and gets frozen in place. And when you upgrade it, they take extra damage when you hit them, and there's like an ice gun. I don't know. There's all sorts of just fun Ratchet and Clank goofy weapons in there.
There's a bunch of them. And they're all
like, hey, we'll start you with your normal pistol, and here's kind of like a space shotgun, but you'll get done using them early on because they're not as much fun. Yeah. Half the game, I was just doing like not even shooting much of anything because I was throwing down all the not NPC, like AI buddies or whatever. Like, here, let's throw down a thing where I have a bunch of little robots following me around. They'll like bite anything that moves. Or like the Mr. Fungi, I think they've talked about before the game came out, which is like a little mushroom that like does dumb things while it's shooting lasers at enemies. It's like, that's good. It's like full advantage of kind of like the spectacle that Ratchet and Clank games like to do with like, here's like the grinding on rails segment, or here's the stuff that they show. That's kind of like the intro of the game that they've shown a lot beforehand of like going through all the rifts one after another. Like, oh, you're in a bunch of different environments, falling through. Oh, crazy. Yeah. They do stuff like that at decent points throughout the game where it's like, okay, you haven't had any big spectacle thing here. Let's throw something crazy at you. Do it just enough and space it out enough that it always feels fun and special.
Yeah.
They have fun little kind of like mini game puzzle games So like the Clank minigame is sort of like Lemmings almost. And then there's another one that's kind of fun. But it's like there's like these different terminals that you have to get rid of the computer viruses in. So you put in like a little kind of spider bot thingy that you actually get to control. And they do this fun thing on the camera where they tilt shift it so it feels like you're really tiny running around inside here. And yeah, it's just like every single little bit of the game is just so well done. It's really, really good.
Yeah, it's what little bit of it I've played it's great. I mean, it is. It's really good.
Well, that game honestly is like I would consider that game a system seller. Like if they, if PS5s were in stock, maybe. Like it's definitely a system seller. I want my Series X first, but if I had it,
if you have a PlayStation 5, this is a must-play game.
Yes,
it is the first. Yes. Well, not really the first, because like Returnal a little bit felt kind of like next gen, but this is the first like full. This feels like a next gen looking game at least. Like it's just the Ratchet and Clank game.
Yeah.
You know, so if it didn't look as good as it did, it would still be fun and it would still be really good. But on top of that, you have the nice icing of like everything looks so pretty.
Yeah.
And it's also fun because I was playing all the Mass Effect games and stuff before this, that the other Lombax in this game is voiced by Femshep.
Oh.
Same voice. And then whoever voices Ashley in Mass Effect is also a voice in this game.
Gotcha.
But like she doesn't not Ashley sounds almost the same kind of voice because it's not like she's putting on anything too crazy, but Jennifer Hale sounds like a little girly version of herself just because of the tone of voice she's going for because she's voicing a cartoon character.
Right.
And just interesting. Yeah, all like the enemy designs and then just the fun stuff twists that they put on things of like here's this dimension's version of this thing you might have seen before, but this is our like little twist on it. Even like they'll have like the other versions of characters, but they'll be voiced by different people too, so that helps them feel like different characters for in some cases. So I don't know. It's really, really good. I loved it. Why I played it twice and platinumed it. Finished that this afternoon. It's just like, all right, yep. I'll put the time in.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what everybody's been doing. So
yeah, and like if you don't get every single collectible, you could probably finish it in like maybe 10, 12 hours if you just like pour through like the main path and don't do any optional kind of objectives. A few of the levels have optional things you can go do other than collectibles, but
and I need to
it's
just
all
sit
worth
down
doing.
and do it. I haven't.
Yeah,
you know, it's always been something else. But I need to. It's
break a fun
in
game.
Black controller.
It's a fun game to just kind of get caught up in and just like play through it and go for the ride. Yeah. I've also been playing like Mass Effect. I finished Mass Effect Andromeda and feel about the same as the first time I played it. Of like, there's some good stuff in here. It suffers a lot from bloat. If they just cut like 30 to 40 hours out of this game, which sounds crazy, it would have been really, really good. But then like it suffers from and it was kind of the same with like what am I thinking of? Dragon Age, Inquisition, and then this, and then like Anthem of them being like, we want to do big open worlds. And then all of the bloat and extra stuff that comes along with that that's just like, but if you'd done a little bit more focused, you could have probably done something that would have been better.
Yeah.
Especially coming right off of like Mass Effect 2 and 3, where they still managed to feel fairly big, even though they're not like a big open world. It's like, that doesn't matter. That's not what we're coming to BioWare for. We're not coming to you for an open world game.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, cut all of those, go fetch 10 of these items, quests out of there. All the fetch quests can go away, especially the 2 or 3 fetch quests in Mass Effect Andromeda, which make you go like to this one planet for one thing, and then you have to leave that planet and go to another planet to get another thing. Then once you get it there, you have to go to another planet, and so all the different loading that you have to do in that game is ridiculous for some of those things where it's like, hey, you're gonna fly into a planet, and then you're gonna like land on the planet, and then you're gonna go like loading screen to get to this other side of the planet. It's just like, even though it loads fast, it takes forever.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But when I was finishing that up, I got the Dragon Age games on Steam during the Steam sale for like $20 total, I think, to get all 3.
Yeah.
So I started playing Dragon Age Origins, maybe 10-ish hours into it. I got kind of through my origin intro, then the main game intro, and then all the way kind of to the first little village area, and then I'm gonna leave it and go to like the first big main quest, whichever one I choose to do. It's kind of how far I'm in. So I've got several companions, which Morrigan is probably still gonna be my favorite. From what little after getting her in my party, it's like, oh yeah, Claudia Black is awesome. You're going on almost every mission. And then the fun thing in that game is that character and Alistair like sniping at each other because they hate each other.
Yeah.
It's always fun. She's always making fun of him and like always some dumb snide remark. It's great.
Yeah, they're always
that game it feels old. It feels like it came out before the first Mass Effect, even though it didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably partly because of the design. It still feels like a little bit more like their older RPG design, where especially the PC version, where you can just click around the map to move your party mechanically. You can hold the tab button to highlight things, which is very much an old school RPG kind of mechanical tropes. And just other things about it. It's like, this feels old, even though I put a bunch of mods on it to make it look better. Yeah. It can only go so far because it's still, like old character models and environments and all that. But yeah, it'll still be fun to play through it, I think. I don't know. I may, if I get deep enough, I might quit and just go to Dragon Age 2 and see how much that one holds up or not. And then
yeah. I'd be anxious
see if I keep moving to Inquisition. I don't know. I'm kind of been doing like all these BioWare games. I'm like, maybe I'll take a break and come back. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I haven't played
Next
2
up
since
is
it came
Anthem.
out. Yeah, then Anthem.
No. Next stop is, hey, look, there's the sign on the highway that says Anthem. Just drive them by.
Yeah, just keep on driving. Don't stop. Don't look.
Just hope that once we get to like Dragon Age 4 and the next Mass Effect game, whatever they end up called, hope that they're better. Just keep on going.
$60.
The sign's like lopsided too, like a hurricane just came through. And
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's a lot of good stuff in Anthem if you really search for it, but nah.
No, there's really
not the kind of game I'm looking for from BioWare. I want my cool story RPGs with lots of fun characters in them. I don't want all this kind of like games of service junk on top of that.
Well, we got some games for service junk to talk about later, so.
And then I also jumped into Minecraft again. I started a new world to do the 1.17 update stuff, plus some of the stuff from the last like couple updates that I dabbled with a little bit, but didn't really do a ton with yet. And so it's like, hey, that whole Minecraft start a new world grind, get through that, and I've got diamond gear, awesome. found some of the new blocks. So this is like the first half or whatever percentage ended up being of like what was the Caves and Cliffs update. They split in two, and so this is like one part, and then at the end of the year they'll have another part that has a lot more of the actual like terrain generation stuff. It just wasn't ready. So this has a lot of like new blocks and new items and stuff that they added, but the generation isn't changed, so you don't get the big caves or the big mountains and stuff that they're working on.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're playing with the snapshots, which you could do, but I'm just playing on the normal 1.17 release.
Yeah.
So far, yeah, I made myself a temporary cave home in the side of a hill. I've got a cow farm. I've got a crop farm with all the crops in it, so that I can breed those cows and kill them, so that I can get food and make books out of the leather. And the last thing I did is I took a lot of the new blocks. Deep slate is kind of like a set of blocks, kind of like stone. So like stone and cobblestone and all that has the different varieties. So you can turn it into stairs, you can turn it into slabs, you can turn it into walls. You can do that with the deep slate blocks, and they're kind of like a big set of medium gray that they've added to the game, where if I had kind of like really dark gray and really kind of lighter gray, now they have something in the middle, and they're really awesome looking blocks. So I built a skeleton XP farm using all the new blocks to decorate it. Or at least the ones that I had, because I haven't found every new block yet. But
I got some new, because I know they have that little summer thing going on, so I got all their free stuff earlier today, like all the little equipments and the maps and whatnot.
I don't know what that stuff is, because I played Java, the real Minecraft.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You don't have the one with the market.
Although, like, the Bedrock edition still has a lot of this new stuff too, because they're kind of they're not as far split apart as they had been in the past. Like
Okay.
part of Microsoft taking over has like slowly pulled those things closer together. So a
Yeah.
lot of times now when they're doing the snapshots and developing it, they'll have some of the new stuff comes out on Bedrock and some of it comes out on Java, and then eventually everything comes to kind of both by the time they do the actual releases.
Mhm.
So yeah, I haven't actually got them because there's not much of a use for them, but there's goats in the game now, like mountain goats that I don't think you can do anything with them yet, other than just like, hey, you have them, they're cool. I mean, there's other mobs like that in the game too. Like there's polar bears and stuff that like they're just there to be cool. There's axolotls, which are super cute. But again, you can't do much with them, although they will attack certain things if you so you could possibly use them to farm something, I guess. I don't know. But I'm trying to think, what's some other new stuff that I've gotten? Oh, I've seen like glow lichen, which is a new thing they've put that can generate that looks a lot like the vines that were in Minecraft before, except a much lighter color, and they have like level 1 or 2 light, which is a lot, it's just enough to put like a little bit of glow. So if you kind of like see it, it can generate underwater. So you'll see it kind of like in the ocean floor sometimes, or just off in the distance in a cave. So it's just enough to get a little bit of a glow, but not light enough to stop any mobs from spawning like a torch or anything.
Do you play always with ray tracing on now that it's like available, or do you take it off?
Ray tracing is just a thing that's in Bedrock, but there's nope. Oh. That's because the ray tracing has to have because Bedrock is on like it'd be like Unreal Engine or something. It's not what it is, but it's on a different engine than Java. So Java, that's why there's still kind of like two different versions.
Okay, gotcha.
But I think if Microsoft was running it, they would probably just get it to just Bedrock, but because Java is just so entrenched and there's still so many people that play on it, and because it's the superior version of that game in many ways for certain players, there's still enough that they're not going to get rid of it. Yeah, with mods or just like, because there's like benefits and drawbacks kind of to both like versions. Like with Bedrock, it's a lot easier to kind of like for kids and things like that version, just the way that the UI and stuff works in there or whatever. But anyway, like Java is the one that I like to play. I think even Redstone works differently in both editions for some reason. I don't know why, but that's not me. I don't do much Redstone. I'm not that smart. I'll follow a tutorial to do like a quick item sorter or something that I don't fully understand how it works, but I can put the blocks down. Which is what I did on my skeleton farm. I've got it to where like they all drop into an area and then I kill them with my sword so I can have the looting on it to get extra bones and stuff when they drop, and then it feeds through, goes up a little elevator, and then drops down into a bunch of chests that I have on the side of the room and has filters on it. So all the bones go in these chests, all the arrows go in this chest. Then I have a couple chests for some of the like bows and armor pieces that drop, and then once those fill up, anything that's extra, it goes past it and gets shot into lava because it's like, I don't need it.
Wow, that's interesting.
I don't need it. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple as far as like Minecraft stuff goes. It's that type of thing I can do. It's the people who like, hey, I just spent a month to build a mini game in survival Minecraft using redstone from scratch that I just made up to make this. Well, like once here's I watched it's like a server. This guy did two different one of those. One was one he made up that basically was kind of like a weird dungeon run roguelike thing that had like a card system and all this other stuff built into it that he just made up. Then he remade Among Us in survival Minecraft. Took all the different mechanics from Among Us, including like figuring out how to teleport people back to a meeting room, all this stuff, figure out how to wire all of that into this like crazy map he built. And it took him like a month and a half to do it, but it worked. Wow. Like, I'm not that level. Yeah. I can't do that. I can follow a tutorial to make like a simple mob farm. I can do that. I can exploit creepers to get their gunpowder so I can make rockets. That's my level.
Well, sounds like the only level you need.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll probably play some more just to kind of see some of the other blocks, but Minecraft is way more fun to play with people. So unless I like want to put a lot more time into it, then I might find a server to play on, but for now I'm just playing kind of my own world.
I'm just not that creative enough. I've tried, and
I mean, you don't have to be creative in Minecraft either. You can do like, hey, I want to go find all the blocks and collect them, and that gives you kind of like an endpoint of like, here's all the things I want to do, or like, I want to build all these farms, or I just want to go explore. Or like one of my friends when we were playing back in the day, I just want to blow things up with TNT. So I'm gonna go to like find a desert so I can get all the sand, and then go kill a bunch of creepers to get their gunpowder and craft as much TNT as I can, and set it all up, and then blow it up so there's like things going over and the server crashes because there's too many explosions.
That would probably be me right there. It's like, I'm just going to go blow some stuff up, guys. You let me know if you need anything. I'll be over here just trying to tear the server down.
I mean, I haven't done anything pretty looking yet. I do like building in Minecraft, but I haven't built anything pretty this time other than like, hey, I built this skeleton farm and just made the walls with a cool block. I didn't do anything fancy on it. But yeah, Minecraft is still awesome.
Yep. All right, cool. Well, we actually have quite a bit of news. Nothing huge and major, but there are some news stories to talk about. Nintendo announced a Switch OLED model with a 7-inch screen and 64 gigs of storage. That's about all it is.
Hey, not for me.
Yeah, I mean,
not the Switch Pro, not yet. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of disappointed if they had said it was this, but it had a little upgraded processor, games run a little better on it, and it did 4K. I would have went, I'm there. But even though I kind of play in handheld mode more, it's like, the OLED would be nice, but it's still 720p. It's it's not.
And it's on a bigger screen, so it's going to stretch more.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be fine for what it is. It's just not something that would get me to buy it. Like, I played it kind of half and half, depending on what game I'm playing. I'll be doing handheld or I'll be doing. So if it had a little better processor in it to make games run better, especially some of those that in the current Switch don't run as well in handheld. Right. And if they had a 1080 screen on that thing that was like a bit bigger, kind of like the same size as what they're putting, but not 720. And then 4K output on the TV would be cool, but even if it was still, but it'd be more like the 1080 screen. But just make it get a slightly bigger 720 screen. It's like, yeah, but so
yeah. I mean, if they would have said, a little better processor to make the games run a little smoother, I probably would have said for $350, okay, I'll do it. But at what they're, it's the exact same thing. I'll wait. They'll have another one. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if this was their plan all the time, or if because of all the different hardware shortages that are going on, they scaled it back and they're like, okay, if we just put these different screens in it, we can do that. Who knows?
I'm guessing that Nintendo probably is sitting on a ton of those processors, and it was probably easy for them just to say, hey, we'll put in a new screen, and when the processors...
Well, yeah, because you don't have to have that many different versions of it out if you're just switching over to this, and it's going to be manufactured the same way for 90% of it, and then the screen just is slightly different. That probably doesn't change their process too much, so it wouldn't cause any issues of trying to figure it out or having to ramp up different lines or whatever.
The kickstand is nice if you're in tabletop. If you do tabletop, because it goes across the whole thing. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and it does different angles. The new curved edge, a dock looks kind of cool. It's nice that it has a LAN in it. Yeah, it's sleek. How the front of it lights up, so you can actually tell when you have it plugged in. I have to turn mine sideways to make sure that I have mine plugged in, so I can see the light.
Mine's sideways anyway, so it doesn't matter for me.
Yeah, it's like, but yeah, I was hoping for more. But if I hadn't bought a Switch yet, absolutely, that's what I would buy.
Oh yeah, like if you don't have a Switch, that'd be the version to get. But if I have my Switch and the amount that I actually play it, it's just like I don't need a new one. It's not enough to entice me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Can I remind everybody what originally had an OLED screen when it first came out, which is
that would be the Vita.
The Vita. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
just thinking on 2013. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's a stinky Vita that doesn't have a Zelda game on it. If it's this old, that plastic's gonna start degrading. That plastic's gonna start degrading, and it'll start to smell. No. It'll get old enough. If it's not here yet, it will soon.
Nothing a little cologne can't fix, my friend.
Oh man, what if they start selling that as an actual accessory?
The cologne.
Uh,
Is that like a? Do I use that to clean my screen? Oh no, you just spray cologne.
no, it's cologne.
Or when your handheld gets to be at least 10 to 15 years old, it's going to start to, get old console smell. So you spray that on there and it fixes it
I still
right
think
up.
nothing, no matter how old these consoles get, and I feel like this has been made apparent with literally any other system, is like nothing will ever be as bad as the original NES and Super Nintendo, and how those things just turned absolutely yellow after like God knows how much time. But
especially
the
Super Nintendo.
But the Super Nintendo, it was. And what's bad is if you don't do the retro bright treatment and get that yellowing out of it, the plastic just becomes brittle and falls apart.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand why they did it back in the day, because it was a fire thing, a fireproofing thing. But now it's like, but now all you do is you go to Sally's Hair Care and you buy this hair treatment dye color stuff and put it out paste it on there, put it under saran wrap and set it out on the porch for a day in the sun, and it literally takes that stuff out of it. It's crazy. I mean, it looks brand new. But yeah, if you have any of those old systems and they're yellowing, you need to do it, because they're just going to fall apart. They're just going to disintegrate, which is crazy. But yeah, I know the Vita's had the OLED, and that's why I still have my OLED versions, because the screen is prettier, pretty on it. But it's still
vibrant, it's colorful. I mean, and I know for a fact, like stuff like Mario Kart and Breath of the Wild's gonna look even better than it already does, probably. On that thing. Well, at least in handheld mode, But TV mode's not gonna change. But But
that's why it kind of surprises me, because it's like maybe they're just looking at like, hey, more people play in handheld / the people who play in handheld are the same people who bought 15 DSs and 15 3DSs, so we'll sell them more Switches, and anyone who just keeps it docked most of the time, whatever, we'll get them the next time we refresh the hardware.
Could be. I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
because if you just dock it all the time, this one doesn't really do a whole anything for you other than some storage, which is like, all right, you can put an SD card in and there you go.
Right.
Well, not to mention, but I think someone mentioned on Twitter, which was like a good point, where it's just like, did anyone notice on like the packaging, you don't even see the TV in the background anymore of the OLED model. There's no TV in the background. So
I don't know.
You just see them pulling the thing out of the dock. That's it, but no TV. No TV. But I do appreciate the very. I was just gonna say that one last thing. Just like I do appreciate the very small bezel, though, which is literally what I've been asking for. I don't even know how many podcasts we've been doing now, but I've literally been saying that for the longest time. I just want a smaller bezel, and finally, that thing is thin. It's thin. It's nice.
Well, it's nice that they just brought the screen out more. They didn't, that's all they did was just bring the screen.
Yeah, that's all they needed to do. They didn't. I mean, because it's a good size. It's a good size. Doesn't need to be really any bigger than that. But you have so much more screen space that you can utilize if you just thin out that bezel. So.
So apparently, Assassin's Creed is going to some different form of game.
No. Do not want.
And this.
I don't think anybody wants it.
Hopefully there's enough of a backlash to this like rumor that they've now sort of kind of confirmed pieces of it that they changed their minds.
Changing into a live service game called the rumor is called Infinity.
That's the code name.
It was already kind of doing that anyways. Just because of all the live events that they would have and stuff like that, and the stores.
That stuff I ignore.
Yeah, exactly. That most people ignore. But now this is like, I think them just going all in on that now.
Yeah, which I hate. Like, that's not the cool part of Assassin's Creed, and they've already started getting too big and too bloated with stuff for most people to even like get close to finishing them. Or if they do, they just play the main missions, and even that's a lot of stuff.
Right.
You don't need to make it bigger. Like, guys, there's this cool thing called quality that I wish you would focus on, not, hey, let's make it even bigger into a live service so we can get more money. And that just makes me sad because I like the Assassin's Creed games a lot, but if that's what it ends up being, just like, the Division and some of their other stuff that they've got, I'm like, now just ignore it.
Yeah. And they don't. I mean, I like the Division. I like Ghost Recon, but I don't see where you have to do that with Assassin's Creed. I just don't.
I miss old Ubisoft that was more creative, not current Ubisoft that's let's make everything exactly the same. It's
Well,
just slight setting changes.
Yeah.
Like the gameplay, the like overall kind of like wrapper systems of it of like this is a big open world thing. Now we're gonna try and jam live service in there and all this stuff is just like which flavor of the same Ubisoft game do you want is what we have now, and it's just not as good as like old school Ubisoft back a console or two ago.
Well, and I'm some of the stuff I'm hearing and reading coming out of working conditions and stuff like that at Ubisoft. I'm beginning to wonder how much Ubisoft is going to be Ubisoft in the next 3 years at this point.
I mean, they've grown like they also have kind of like the same thing with their games. It's like it's feeding real life as well. It's like they're becoming a bloated, too big company that has so many teams doing so much stuff that just becomes so unwieldy that, of course, there's going to be some places where the working conditions suck just because how could you organize something that big? And I think they're kind of running into that.
Doesn't every like Assassin's Creed game, like pretty much post Black Flag, has all been made by at least like 8 different Ubisoft studios at once?
Well, like what they do is they have the 2 main studios that they kind of like flip flop back and forth of which game they're running it. But yeah, they have support studios all over the place for all their different game series where they're just like, here, you're supporting this for a while, and like, oh, here's the next game that's coming out. Here, we'll plug you in so that we can like crank out all of the art assets and stuff that we need to in order to get this giant unwieldy thing out the door. But now they're instead of doing that, they're going to have the 2 different Assassin's Creed studios working on it together at the same time rather than going back and forth, which just seems like no, that's not how that works. You give them more time, you don't throw more people at it because it's still going to be you're running into the same issue. Like you didn't make it long enough.
Yeah, well, something's bound to get lost in translation, which is going to mess a lot of things up with all those people. So,
yeah, like you see the differences between the 2 studios or whatever, and just kind of their overall goals with the games. So you can look at the differences between kind of like Syndicate and Odyssey versus Origins and Valhalla, and kind of like they have a lot of similarities because they're still on the same like base, but some of the like fringe stuff or some of the like few of the building blocks in there are kind of like slightly different, or just like the goals of the game are a bit different, even though it's still like on a big Assassin's Creed game. It's like we want to do this with it. It's been kind of different. I don't know. I think I love Odyssey. It's still a huge game that was probably too big, but Valhalla is just like, yep, worse. It was fun. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. It's way too big. So keep getting bigger is not the way that I would want them to go for this.
Me neither, because I never end up finishing it because
then it loses all of its kind of like uniqueness and the flavor of like this is what makes it fun. This is you can't put as much of that in there because you're just trying to make a big sprawling thing, and it just all becomes stretched out and bland everywhere.
Black Flag was the last Assassin's Creed that I actually finished. I haven't finished any other one since then.
I finished Odyssey because I put like way too many hours in that and all the
DLC.
But I finished Black Flag. I finished Syndicate. Syndicate was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was the last like original style Assassin's Creed game, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I didn't finish Origins, but I got most of the way through it, I think. Can't remember. I'd have to go look.
Yeah.
I finished Valhalla as far as like the main story. There's a ton of stuff I didn't do in that game though. There's way too many icons on that map, even for a Ubisoft game. Like, Ubisoft games always have a lot, and then it seemed like for Valhalla, they're like, yeah, let's like double or triple that. Let's just have as many icons on this map as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Some of them probably don't even mean anything. They're probably just like there for like visual.
That was my one big problem with that game is like, okay, cool. I get that you're like, here, we'll put these basically question marks, even though that's not what they were on your map. But like, here's this thing on your map, and like, you got to go and find out what it is. But they're all the same. Whether it's just something you'll go and do, and it's like, hey, you're done in a couple minutes because you talked to some random dude in a hut, or this kicks off some like side quest chain that's like way more involved, and you don't know the difference. You don't know what you're getting in for.
Yeah. Right. And can I just say, speaking of, I was actually playing some this morning, and there was a mission. It was maybe 2 minutes long that I did by accident, by the way, where I just went into a rap battle with a squirrel. And I was like, okay.
There
Well,
was one
fighting, whatever
there.
that's what they call it. But like, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's all right, good job.
Yeah,
So,
there's like a fun mission that was kind of like a side mission out of your kind of village or whatever. That was one of the people there, one of the missions you can do for the different people in the village. You get sort of their own kind of little side quest chains. And there's one where you're like hallucinating the whole time, but you don't realize it at first. And so like there's some character that you see that then you realize you're the other one seeing it, and then it just goes on full on hallucination by the end. You're like, that was fun. Do more of that. But because you have this big sprawling map full of all this like stuff, you have to cookie cutter a lot of that, and it just makes it less fun.
Yeah.
It feels more like busy work, like, oh, I'm clearing off all these icons more than like, hey, here's a cool thing I discovered.
yeah.
You gotta find that balance, and
Yeah.
they're way more on the hey, look how big this map is side. This is like a cool.
Maybe I wonder if like there would be some sort of correlation. I'm sure there's some data that would point towards it, but like if they can look at like the platinum rates for all their games and be like, okay, this sort of seems like people probably can complete this the best. Like this probably this sort of formula that for this particular game the best. Because I know I've platinumed Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations. Everything after that, even though I've tried, has been no. It just hasn't been. I haven't been able to. So, so I wonder if they can look at that and be like, all right, what do we do here to get people still playing as much as possible, but and wanting to complete everything without having to overwhelm them with just a bunch of random dots on the map.
Good, but Ubisoft wants to get you playing their games and keep you playing them, so that's why they've kind of done pseudo live service, and now it's going to be officially called a live service. It'll probably come out and be like, oh, this is kind of like what they've done for the last 2 games.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's just kind of like that's not the direction I want to go in. That no.
I feel like
I get why you want me to keep playing your game, but I'm not spending the extra money on it anyway, even if I am playing it.
Yeah.
Not for a single player game like that. And then I'd rather just be like, okay, give me something amazing that's like 30 hours long, which is still quite long that a lot of people won't finish, versus this thing that if you've just mainlined the story, it still takes you like 80 to 100 hours.
Yeah.
That's just like, that's too much. It's too sprawling.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to the end of it, you forgot how it started. So any impact that you have is just like, wait, who is this character again?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just saw them like 20 hours ago.
Right.
Like it kind of gets spread out too much to have any actual real like story stakes a lot of the times. I'm just like, oh yeah, what was I doing? Oh yeah, this is what the main story was about. Or oh yeah, this is this character that showed up 2 missions ago and I totally forgot because that was forever ago because it just takes so long to get through it.
Yeah. Sony actually had some news this week. They had a state of play that we'll talk about at the end. But they announced 2 different games getting director's cuts. Ghost of Tsushima is getting
So
a director's
weird.
cuts.
Why is a game called a director's cut? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Especially for like the Ghost of Tsushima one, maybe, I don't know. But for Death Stranding, is like it's Kojima. The original game was his director's cut.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
It feels more like they just don't want to call it Game of the Year edition, because for the amount of little things that they're adding in, feels like the stuff you would add in for a game called that in the past.
Well, and I think the other reason why they wanted to call them director's cuts is because they can charge more money for them.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
but like, okay, and then in reverse, it makes more sense to call Death Stranding a director's cut because more people know who Kojima is.
Right.
But who the heck knows who directed Ghost of Tsushima?
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, you might know the studio, but you're not gonna know like the person. So why call it director's cut? It's just a weird thing.
Yeah. So if you've not bought Ghost of Tsushima and you buy it straight out, it's $70 for the PlayStation 5 version, $60 for the PlayStation 4 version. There's also an option that if you buy the PlayStation 4 version and then down the road you want to upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version and you have the director's cut, it's I think it's like $10 to update it to the then
see,
if you have
this is the real reason they're doing it is because
Yeah.
they want to charge money. Because if they did just Ghost of Tsushima PS5 upgrade or whatever, they'd have to do it for free based on kind of like just the trends they're going.
Right.
Otherwise, people would complain. But
So
because it's a director's cut, we can
Right.
charge for it.
So it's if you buy the PlayStation 4 director's cut and then you want to upgrade to the PlayStation 5 director's cut, it's $10. If you have the PlayStation 4 version of the game and you have a PlayStation 4 and just want to upgrade to the director's cut of the PlayStation 4 version, it's $20. And if you have the PlayStation 4 version and you want to upgrade to the director's cut of the PlayStation 5 version, it's $30.
Just stick with the original game. It's already big enough. It already looks gorgeous, even on PS5. Like, no, just don't do it. Don't give them the money, guys. Don't do it.
Here's my thing. I don't care much about the island expansion that comes with the director's cut. I mean, that's great if you want to play more new content on Ghost of Tsushima. There's your opportunity. Give me either for free or for a very little bit of money. I want the haptic feedback, the Japanese lip sync, the PS5's haptic feedback stuff they have, the triggers in the director's cut, the 3D audio. I want the 4K resolution at 60 frames a second. I want that stuff because I have the PlayStation 5, but you're going to make me pay $30
to some of that's already in the PS4 version. You can get it at 4K 60 if you just play the original version on PS5.
Yeah, you do, but you don't get you don't get the optimized load times. You don't get a lot of this stuff. It loads a little faster, but
they can say optimized load time all they want. The load times in the game are pretty fast on PS5, so it's like
they are. They're very fast on PS5, but
it's not something to pay money for, is what I'm saying.
No.
It's like, yeah, cool. Well, it's an improvement.
And that's what
Give
I say.
it to me for free.
Yes.
Like, it sucks that this is a game that's literally a year old and they're doing this crap.
Yeah.
Instead of in the past, it would be like Game of the Year edition that you can get it might be full price or slightly less. But it's like, no, like you're not adding enough to it to make that. And plus, it's a year old. Come on.
Like, and I want those PlayStation 5 features. But I'm not going to pay $30 for it, and I don't need the extra, expansion stuff and the island and stuff like that. I don't need it. Just give me those out of goodwill, and then if I want that expansion, fine, I'll pay to upgrade it.
Yeah, like put those things in we've made it for PS5 now instead of just patching the 4. You can have it as a PS5 version for free, but if you want the actual new content that's like an island or something, yes, like haptic feedback stuff, put it in there. Yeah, I know it's not like a small amount of work, but it's a very small thing on the list. It's not like a whole new part of an island that feels worth paying for, right?
And right now, this is the difference in Sony games and Microsoft games. And I'm not just saying first party Sony games. You look at the Terminator game that came out. They upgraded it to an enhanced version. Yeah, they had it in an enhanced version. Now, granted, this was a small studio. I understand, but if I wanted to play that enhanced version, I had to pay $40 to buy the game all over again, which I did. But here's the problem I have with it: I tweeted the developers directly and said, "Hey, are you going to do this on Xbox?" Because I'd already bought it on Xbox. And they said they can't do it on Xbox. Why can't you do it on Xbox? Is it because Xbox didn't want you to charge for it? Or, that's my question. There is no, I can't do that on Xbox. You've done it before. Yeah. Why can't you do it this time? You just don't want to do it this time because, one, you're probably not going to get your money back on it because people aren't going to pay for it on Xbox when everybody else is bringing out free updates without charging for it on Xbox. I don't know. It aggravates me because I like Ghost of Tsushima and I would like to have those extra benefits of the PlayStation 5 version, but I'm not going to pay $30 to get those extra benefits. I'm just not. I mean, as much as I like that game and as much as I like the developers, I'm sorry, $30 for a piece of content that I'm never going to play just to get the faster load times, the haptic feedback, the 4K 60, all this stuff. No, that's ridiculous.
Well, you're also, I feel like it's not very consumer friendly because now it almost feels like you're punishing those that haven't upgraded yet to begin with.
Yeah.
And then, so it's just like, hey, you don't have a PS5? Okay, you're going to get one later down the line, but you got the PS4 version? Oh, okay, well, we want you on that PS5 version, so maybe
and
pay
it's going to
for it a
cost
little
you
bit.
$20.
Right,
You know,
exactly. So,
and then you're charging $70 if you buy the game outright, physically again. It's like,
yeah, but with PS5
Like,
games being
hey,
$70 in general, again, it doesn't affect those people because they're
Right.
like, oh, it was just another $70 game. But for people who want to upgrade, it's like I got to pay an additional amount when I initially paid $60 when it first came out. So then when you think about it, the 20 on top of the 60 you initially paid now becomes $80
it's an $80 game. I'm paying $10 more than if I just would have, waited and bought the PlayStation 5 version.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know, and it's funny to see the defenders online. Just, well, you got to understand. No, you don't. You don't. There's nothing to defend here. I mean, it's, I don't know. It aggravates me. And then Death Stranding's doing the same kind of thing. But it's a $10 upgrade.
But because they're not even adding that much to it.
No, they're not adding that much to it. They're 60 frames a second. What else was it? I'm just trying to find the extra because
I think there's a few new mechanics or something like
there's like there's a racing circuit and
there's some new like structures you can build, I think, as well.
Yeah, and stuff like that. It's not a lot for $10. And I think
it seems like here's the whole game, and then we're adding a few little like extra bits like that you can do in it mechanically, but we're not like say adding a new piece of story or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's just funny to see how Sony is just doing stuff different than Xbox is now, and it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I understand Sony is the market leader and they can do what they want. But a little bit of goodwill doesn't hurt anybody, especially for those of us who've actually got a PlayStation 5 in hand. There's a lot of people out there that want one. It's like, you can't give me an upgraded version of a game that I bought a year ago for free. Don't give me the DLC. I don't want the DLC. I just want the upgraded enhancements. And that drives me away from a platform.
Are they still using the slogan, "This is for the players"? Because I don't really think it is.
No, I don't think that's. I don't think that's the slogan they're using anymore. I think they the place to play or something like that. I don't know what.
But is it even that? I mean, when most games seem to run better on the Series X, anyways.
Yeah.
So
it depends.
Depends on the game. I mean, I don't know. It's this whole thing this week of, hey, it's a director's cut. You're gonna have to pay for it. It's like, what? I don't know.
Guess what's staying on the cutting room floor?
Yeah,
your director's cut.
Exactly.
Play has no limits. That's what
I'll stick with the theatrical version of the game. Thank you very much, because I just
play has no limits. That's their.
Yeah, it's like one of those.
No limits. No limits, because I feel very restricted with these paywalls.
No limits if you have the money. But was there anything that stood out to anybody from the state of play?
No, honestly, now that I'm looking,
it was the best 9-minute presentation for an Xbox game that I've seen since the Xbox presentation.
It's true though.
Are you talking about
Deathloop?
Is that actually coming to Xbox at some point?
Yeah, it is. It's September next year because it's a Bethesda game, so it'll be on Game Pass September next year.
Well, I hadn't looked into it, so I wasn't sure if it was still, because I didn't even know if it was a PlayStation exclusive or a timed exclusive originally before this whole deal thing.
It's a timed exclusive. It and Ghostwire, is that what's called? Ghostwire. Yeah, they're both timed exclusives by Bethesda that'll end up being on Xbox in a year.
Man, I like Arcane and it looks awesome, but maybe you should just wait.
Oh, I'm waiting. I'm just waiting.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't need to play that right away.
Or just play it on PC.
When it comes to Game Pass, I'll play it. But
yeah, it'll be on Game Pass in a year. I can wait. I can wait.
I got other stuff. I'm good.
That Tribes of Midgard looked really interesting. I don't know if that's a PlayStation exclusive or not, but it's a 10-player co-op online game. It looked pretty cool. Other than that, I mean, there wasn't anything real
Honestly, like the only things that really stood out for me really were two things, which was the sequel to Moss, which if you have a PS4,
Yep.
if you've played
Yeah.
Moss,
Yep.
it's amazing.
Yeah, I've got to buy that when it comes out.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like a must have. That and Lost Judgment looked really good. Like the
Yeah.
trailer for that was like really really good, even though it was like in English, but the English was like well done.
Yeah,
Like it was like
yeah. But,
so.
I wonder if they'll just start doing that from now on because of the Like a Dragon doing so well with like their English version
Probably.
of that.
I think so. I think so.
They'll
They have
start
the
doing it
resources
just for
now.
trailers too.
Yeah, I mean they have the resources now. Also, I think before because
Yeah.
Yakuza was so niche for so long, and now that it's just blown up the last couple of years, they have the resources to localize it completely. So
is this the second Judgment game?
Yeah, it is.
Second one, yeah.
I hadn't bought Judgment, and I bought the Xbox Series X version.
That's right. It's weird that Series X only. Like, what is it that much of an enhancement that they couldn't have just put it on the One X?
I haven't loaded it up yet.
Okay, because like every time I look at it, I'm like, I mean, it looks great. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like I should be able to play it just fine on my One X.
Yeah, and you might be able. Is it not on One X too?
Well, because Judgment initially came out when, like 2017, and then Yakuza Like a Dragon can be played on current and last gen platforms. So, like, why is Judgment a game that was on last gen platform all of a sudden when it comes to Xbox next gen only? Unless it's like that much of an enhancement. Because the PS4 get a PS5 version of this Judgment or no? Or is this like exclusive to Xbox in terms of this?
No, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Because it's not even on PC. Like Judgment isn't even on PC.
No, it's only on PS4, PS5, Series X and S, and Google Stadia. So I don't know why that's not on regular X. I don't know. But you're right. I didn't think
because I want it. Yeah. Because I want it. I get it. I mean, I have it, but I would like to have it on Xbox. So,
go buy a Series X, and then you can have it. That's all you have.
Yeah,
to do.
Working on that, John.
They're all over. You can buy them.
That's kind of out of my jurisdiction now, just because.
Go get you all access when it comes up. Get all access.
There are so many Series X's out there. You can buy them in like a grocery store. There's no shortage.
There's guys standing on the corner selling them at cost.
Please take it from me. I don't want it.
Yeah, we don't want it.
Absolutely not. MSRP or bust. That's it. I'm only doing MSRP or bust. I don't even like doing. I don't even like those bundles that GameStop has. I don't want that. I just no. Just give me the console. Man.
That's why I just did the all access. I knew I was going to pay for Game Pass, so I just did the all access, and I pay $37 a month after tax, and I get for the next 2 years interest free.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. That's awesome, and like you get Game Pass included, and you don't have to pay everything up front. Like that's great.
Game Pass Ultimate on top of it. It's Ultimate.
Yeah,
so
and can't you actually also can't you send your old console to Microsoft also, and then they'll like deduct
if you got your One X on the original all access.
Okay, so you can't do like a trade in.
Back and do a trade in, and they would then you just continue on.
Oh, okay.
Long you had left.
But if I had an existing one that wasn't with them, I can't trade it in that way.
No.
Okay. No. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So, but hey,
I mean, you still have your One X. I mean, I would still probably keep my One X anyways.
I'm keeping my One X because they're bringing. They're going to bring. They're bringing cloud to it. That's how you're going to be able to play. You're going to be able to play Flight Simulator on it. Is through xCloud on your Series X or One X.
I forgot about that. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. So you can pretty much simulate like a next gen console on your current gen console.
For certain things, I think it'll work. I don't think anything super fast would work as well that way. But yeah,
I don't know. I'm interested to try it. Plus, it's like I need a 4K Blu-ray player for the living room. So.
Yeah.
Keep my X.
I mean, the One X is still an incredible piece of hardware. I mean, even with the next gen system, it's a phenomenal piece of hardware.
Yeah. So, but
it's my 4K Blu-ray player.
Yep. I mean, there wasn't much.
It may also do games.
I don't know what Sony's doing. It's like, come on. I know Sony's just sitting back going, we're selling consoles, we don't need to brag about games, but man,
it's the seesaw thing where hey, we're on top, we don't care. Oh, now we're gonna build our way back up. Oh, now we're on top, and it's just the balancing act back and forth, and they just happen to be up top right now, and then eventually it'll be like, oh yeah, look at that Xbox with all that extra stupid crap with the Kinect on it. You don't want that, ha 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 ha. We'll be back some version of that in the future, I'm sure.
Yep. So, all right. Well, we're going to call that a show. Sorry we got such a late start. We're still way earlier than we normally are on any other day, and the podcast people don't know. They'll get it early because I'm going to post it here as soon as we get done because I'll be on the road.
Don't tell them. Don't tell.
Don't tell. Don't spill the magic.
Yeah, I'll tell you. We won't talk about how we were late because we weren't. As far as they know, we were on time. Matter of fact, we were earlier than usual.
Yeah, we were early, way early. So if they come in at 9
just
o'clock,
got so
going,
excited.
hey, where you guys at? We're already done. And it's like, so. But like I say, if you ever want to hang out with us live, follow us on Twitter at GL_podcast. I try to tweet out a little bit before, a couple hours before when we're going to record live. Other than that, like I always say, if you're on the podcatcher, you'll get it whenever I put it up. So, and it'll be in about 15 minutes. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out with us, and we'll try to be back in 2 weeks if all goes well. So, if not, we'll see you then.
Take care.